Hi everybody, welcome to C-Suite Strategies, Elevate Every Move, Scale Beyond. And today our topic of discussion is intelligence, leadership, building culture in distributed teams. Your go-to podcast on tech, cybersecurity, strategy and growth. I am your host Prem Kumar today, and we will explore how teams and culture is built in every organization. Welcome to all tuned to Power of Knowing Forum's weekly podcast series, episode 255, live on LinkedIn and streamed across YouTube, Facebook, Insta, and other platforms. We have the honor of having Gauri Gopinath, founder of Success Mind Mantra, and Dharshani Sivakumar, founder of DS Consulting, joining us today. Let's welcome our esteemed speakers to the podcast event and dive into the discussion. Hi, hi Darshini,
Hello.
hi Gauri, welcome to
I
our show.
Hello.
How are
Hello,
you?
Prem. Hello, Dharshani. All good. How are
I
you?
Good. Let's dive into the topic. The question to you, Gauri, to start with: how do emotional intelligence leaders detect early sign of disengagement in remote or hybrid teams?
Great. And actually, a very nice question this is because a lot of people think that that will be very evident, when someone is disengaged. But it is exactly the opposite of that. It will never be evident, you know. So we need to be someone who is very very I would say aware of the sensory activity which is going on, which is happening with their team. Being leaders, I think small tasks are not our job, but making sure that our team is well equipped to do all the tasks. And one of the I would say one very important thing is they should be emotionally strong and healthy to take in. No work comes without pressure, so pressure is part of it. How do I recognize that my team is getting disengaged? One of the things which I always promote or let the leaders be aware of is see for the non-verbals more than the verbals. If the employee, if your team has stopped having an eye to eye contact with you, that means there is an issue. If it is a video conferencing call, if your teammate is seeing down more than up when he's trying to respond to something, that means the person is disengaged. The body language, if the person is not coming in front and talking to you, rather is more detached like this, that again gives you a hint of disengagement. If they are, a lot of times, a lot of teams do not come online at all. I mean, video, when it's on virtual meet, they don't keep their videos on and it's just talk. Now, what do I do at that time when the videos are not on? You can start noticing the drags in their conversation, the choice of words which they are using. Yeah. When they start talking what is not possible in a scenario more than what is possible, there is a possibility that they are wanting to shy away or move out of this conversation or not give you anything positive. That is another way in which you can identify. So, in a nutshell, if I would have to say, um, you visually see them, look at the body language, understand the smaller cues, and verbally, the tonality, the choice of words, I would say, it gives you the underlying message of disengagement rather than the face to. No one will come and say, "Hey, I'm not emotionally healthy," because normally people are not that aware itself that they are not emotionally sound. Yeah, so that's my take on how an emotional intelligent leader would look into this. Prem, I can't hear you. Is it the same with Darshni?
Darshini, can you hear us?
Yes, right now I can hear.
Yeah, Your take on it, Darshni.
I would like to rather give an example which, when I joined an, business or entrepreneurs organization, initially when I started, the meetings were virtual. So I used to even try, like how Gauri ma'am was stating, I used to keep my video off because somewhere I was youngest in the group and I had this initial trouble of facing the camera, talking the camera. Many a times, even in video calls, I used to look down. I don't look at the camera. So I would agree on that. But the day I started turning on the camera, speaking in front of the camera, that changed lot of ways where the way people came and spoke, interacted with me. Everything changed.
Okay. Okay. Uh, I think what you started telling is more to look at how the team members behave or look at when we look at having them live is one thing that I am trying to understand. Am I right in saying that, uh, Gauri?
Sorry?
You're able to hear me?
Yes, yes. The voice is not very sharp, but then yes.
I think, give me a second. Then I think there is some issue that is happening on the audio side.
Now it is better.
Now
Now
it is
it's
better.
perfect today. Yeah, yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Now, what is one biggest challenge or biggest cultural blind spot leaders face while building distributed teams? Because again, we are talking about distributed teams here as an overall concept wise. So, your take on it, Darshini.
Okay. At least, recently I came across through this one program where half of it I had to do it online, half of it I did it, physically.
Mm-hmm.
When it's online and you find half of the, not half, all the cameras are turned off, then it's very difficult to understand whether are they emotionally and in all aspects are they engaged with me or not. But
Okay.
on the opposite front, when I went physically, the energy was completely different. I'll
Okay.
give you another example when I encountered a corporate training that was a one full day program. When
Mm-hmm.
I initially had that conversation with the uh, you know uh, group of audience who will be attending the training program, all were quiet. But when I
Okay.
went there, eventually I had to turn that whole program into like an outbound training where they had so
Oh,
much
okay.
of high energy in the room. So I was like wondering how do I take it forward. Then we bought some props and other things and turned that whole training into an outbound training.
Okay.
So the kind of energy what you get online versus the kind of energy what you feel in the physical presence is completely different.
Hmm. Okay.
This is my take on this.
Gauri, your take, ma? What is that you
Okay.
think?
When you're talking about culturally diverse teams, this is something which is need of the hour, I would say, now that the world is becoming a smaller place. And being an expert in DIE, have taken a lot of sessions on DIE. And one thing, it differs when it is middle level people, sessions for them, and when it comes to senior management people, when we are taking sessions, it becomes more of a discussion. So
Hmm.
something which I have always seen as a challenge when the leadership team is putting the team across is uh, they forget the cultural sensitivity, you know, to bring in that awareness, to bring in that knowledge to the team members. Yeah.
Hmm.
So when I am putting a culturally diverse team together, and I'm talking not just about India, I'm talking about all over the world. Yeah,
Okay.
there is so much difference between the northern part of India, the southern part of India. If I'm having, even in India, if I'm having a team and one guy is from Bihar, and the other guy is from MP. The other one is Maharashtrian. The other one is Bangalorean. The other one is Andhra Pradesh, and someone from Tamil Nadu. Now, going in detail about it, they are from different religion. Now, imagine the kind of diversity which is coming, with the team members. Are they culturally that sensitive? Are they
Mm.
aware that what will go okay and what will not go okay with my teammates? So I always suggest that when leaders are putting this kind of a team together, or because it's an agile kind of working environment, the team keeps changing. So every now and then have a small discussion to let people know that we are in a diverse and inclusive kind of a working environment, and we need to make sure that everyone has this equity rather than equality. Yeah. So equity is very important. Who needs when? Now, I would say no. We have already given leave, so we will not be giving leave on 14th of January, let's say.
Mm.
Yes, you cannot give leave to a North Indian. They would be completely fine because it's just Makar Sankranti for them. But for a Tamilian, it's Pongal. It's a celebration which happens for 3 to 4 days. You should be
Yeah.
culturally sensitive to give him that 1 day of leave. It's not about equality, it's more about equity. So I would always suggest to all organizations to have DIE for leaders, and always tap in resources who do not have a same PPT for the middle level and the senior level. Senior level discussions, case studies are going to be completely different. I would just share one case here before I hand it over to you, Prem. And why am I doing this is because this was one thing which had led to a posh issue in an
Mhm.
organization. Is because the team leader was not aware about the culture of one of his team
Mm.
members, and
Okay.
he used couple of words which are offensive, and couple of physical gestures which were not taken positively by the team
Okay.
member, and a posh issue was raised. So you can
Ah.
understand the intensity here.
Okay. Okay.
So we have to be extremely cultural sensitive, and only if you are emotionally aware, you will understand that this has hit the person, and you
True.
can do the damage control.
Agree.
So
Agree.
that would be my take on having a culturally diverse team.
Okay. Got it. Now, what? How do we leaders build physiological safety across zones and tech platforms? Glory to you.
Me, okay. I Physiological safety has got multiple dimensions in today's era. Actually, it is not just physiological. I always talk about psychology and physiology together, because only then it is a 360-degree vision that you have, and as a leader that's very important. You cannot have a blind eye for any one of them. So
Mm.
if I have to build a physiologically and psychologically safe place for my team, couple of things which I can do, which is very easy, is make sure that you have a video check-in call with your team. Now, why am I telling
Mm.
video check-in call? See, the leadership has changed, the working environment has changed in the past 1 decade drastically, which had not happened for years. So you
Yeah.
cannot always expect your team to come to the boardroom. The boardroom has
Mm.
gone to their laptop now. So always have a video check-in with your teammates, with your team members. Why am I telling a video check-in? Again, I'm going back to the first discussion that we started with. We need to understand the cues. We have to be sensorily acute to understand the visual cues, the audio cues, which will give us the direction to the emotional cues. So that is why a video check-in. Another thing, if it can happen, you make sure that you have a 10-minute discussion on a one-on-one. So normally, what I suggest is I have lot of teams, when I have trained them, a lot of leaders, they've come up with very fun names, you know, Team Tuesdays or Fun Fridays kind of thing, where in the morning or in the evening, there was one team which had come with very innovative thing. They called it the Chai Sutta meeting. You know, it sounds very funny, but then they are like, Gauri, it's very simple. What we are going to do every Friday, we will get together. And at 5:30 to 6, that's the time when we get together, IST. So any zone you are in, 5:30 to 6, you have to come. You have to have your own tea or coffee. Okay. We don't promote smokes, but then we call it Chai Sutta, meeting. We speak about everything other than work, and everyone has to be on video. We speak about everything other than work. And something which we have, three things to go with is, how did your week go? What is your weekend plan? And what exciting news are you going to come back with on Monday? So these are the three questions which the team goes expressing. And the manager takes it a step ahead. On Monday, he makes sure that he calls it meeting Monday. So everyone he meets for 10 minutes on a one-on-one. So that's a beautiful system which they came up with. So chai sutta meeting on Friday. On Monday, it's a one-on-one with each of the person after the Monday meeting schedule, so that they understand. And here he says, even in the one-on-one, 70 to 80% is more of personal talk, which I do. Because I know how they are at work and I know they will achieve their targets. But I need to understand if someone's mother is sick, or if someone's wife has got extra work, or if someone's husband is gone abroad and she's taking care of her kids. Only if I get that white check on Monday, the whole week I can plan accordingly. I know if someone's parents are sick, he will need to go back early or sometimes check in late, and I should be aware of this. I cannot put pressure and stuff. So this kind of systems you will have to generate with your team, so that you can make it not just psychologically but physiologically, and both ways it's a win-win. So that is something which I feel is very important for the leaders to do.
Okay, got a lot of insights. I think when you say we have to give that kind of a safety to people where the personal connect has to be looked at. That's what we are trying to say, right, Gauri? In a way
Correct.
that
Yeah.
we have to see how the circumstances are there with the current remote work being put around across, and how the mental stability of the person makes a difference, right? That's what we are talking about.
Correct. Correct.
Now,
Exactly.
coming back to Dharshani, how do, when landing into virtual and what emotional cues more than exposure works?
Okay.
Dharshani, there's a lot of noise on your side, I think. Yeah, I
Is
think
it
the
better
mic.
now?
Yeah, better now. Yes.
This question brings me to an instance where I did this kind of an icebreaker, or in a different method, like in a humorous way. I did this with that particular group of audience, where before I started the actual session, I divided them into groups or even one on one. I did it like an open mic kind of a program with them to break the ice. Because
Mhm.
virtual events, keeping these audience video on was the biggest challenge. Every time, at least when I was training, that was the biggest challenge which I found. So, what I started doing, I started putting them into smaller groups where I give them a stage where open mic or whatever kind of humorous way of introducing themselves, different activities I used to give them. Because the
Hmm.
moment the video is off, your audio is off, you're like, are they listening? Is there any concerns? Or before starting the session, I will ask them, is there any concerns which you want to convey personally to a trainer, which a trainer should know?
Hmm.
Then they come up like, very simple thing as if, in a group they are finding it very difficult to communicate, open up their ideas or open up their perspective what to what they are feeling. So, every time before a session, I need to set the stage where, okay, there's no judgments or there's no, final conclusions which is made during the program. And that has helped a lot of, participants from the audience. They come and open up to me in the class also. But
Hmm.
because initially when I started my career as a trainer, I used to get scared the moment there's no interaction between the trainer and the audience. I used to freak out like anything. But
Okay.
later, what I started doing, I started addressing their concerns from their perspective rather than talking from a trainer's point of view. I started becoming that student or that as their own team member and I started conversing with them. That opened up a lot of interesting conversation. There are a lot of interesting culturals which has happened after the program. This happened for one of the programs. This happened. We had culturals at the end of the training session. It was like a one full day cultural. So that breaks the ice for the team also to come and communicate. And there are
Okay.
times where they have come back. Can you please come and take a session on this particular topic?
Hmm.
Yes, it does. Emotional cues are one is video being off and or audio is off or they don't interact at all even on the chat window.
Okay.
So then I start addressing their concerns and too much of a long gap between sessions. That also gives it bringing back their interaction is very difficult.
Okay. Gauri, to you on can emotional intelligence be coached in leaders managing global teams?
Uh, okay. Good question to be asked to an emotional intelligence master coach. Um, I would say that no one is born with emotional intelligence. Okay. When a child is born, it is just another animal.
Hmm.
We as society make them social animals. Yeah. And emotion is part of how you respond to whatever happens around you. And an emotionally intelligent individual just understands what is happening around him or her, assesses it before he responds rather than be reacting right away.
Mhm.
And you need to be trained to do that. Okay. There are very few individuals who, I would not say come with this inborn talent, but have developed it unknowingly, subconsciously, because of the instances or circumstances they have faced. Yeah. But you will have to put in efforts to learn it. And that brings me to the point which you asked, can it be coached? Yes, it can be, and it must be, and it should be. As we
Hmm.
grow up our ladder in the corporate world, okay, I always say that the emotional intelligence sessions are more important for the leadership team, okay, than the middle level people. They can still work without having EQ, but the leadership can never work without having EQ. Yeah,
Hmm.
you already have the IQ. That is the reason why you are where you are. But now you have to upskill and develop your emotional quotient. Yeah, and you now if the next question, a lot of people have asked me whom to go to or how, where to go to. There is no institute which trains emotional intelligence. There are a lot of people who are certified. There are a lot of knowledgeable people. I always, that is why my sessions are majorly activity based, and there are always follow ups, because 2 days program, 5 days program, all of a sudden you cannot become emotionally smart. It is not an Excel workshop. Yeah, that yesterday I did not know,
Hmm.
now I know. This is the formula. There is no, as such, a formula for becoming emotionally intelligent. So, to all the organizations, make sure whomever you're tapping to learn or make your leadership team emotionally more intelligent, always go for people who suggest or who work with, um, follow ups, because it takes time. You are going to become emotionally aware, and it's going to take time. It's not going to happen in 2 days, 3 days, 5 days. You will have to do a check after 15 days, 1 month, 3 months, 6 months. And every time after a year or two, go and brush up. That is
I
important.
think your point is very valid because people always think that once I learn a skill, that means I am going to be an expert from tomorrow. That is not right, because every time you learn, you'll have to practice it. Keep practicing it. You'll find faults again. You make a lot of changes into it. Now, with that, one question back to you only, Gauri, saying that we sometimes have a fatigue of many things, right? Like, now, what is the first sign of an emotional fatigue in a virtual leadership?
Okay. Uh, when I'm talking about emotional fatigue, I am going to go above the work environment, because this is something which happens to individuals, and as individuals we should be aware of this. Okay, couple of things which you can have a check on is, first, you have started over scheduling your tasks on day-to-day basis. This is
Mhm.
something which a lot of people do not talk about.
Okay.
What happens when you are overscheduling? It's like a vicious circle. I overschedule for today. By the end of day, I am unaware, or I'm unhappy. Sorry, not unaware. I'm unhappy because I was not able to meet everything, and that gives me a very disturbed sleep, because before sleeping I see this and I say, Gauri, you're good for nothing. You have not completed X, Y, and Z. Now I am not able to sleep properly. Next day morning I get up with sleep deficiency, energy deficiency, and now my days again into that loophole that I have tasks of yesterday. I will even overtask today, and it's a vicious circle. So first is when you start seeing yourself or your colleagues or your team members put too many tasks on the schedule than what they are completing, try to counsel them. If you are doing it yourself, please have a check. A week, every day you are not able to complete everything, coach yourself. Tell that, hey bro, these are the 8 hours which you have got to work. Are you scheduling it right? Please do it right. That is one thing. Second, if you start eating too much or you start eating too less.
Mm.
Okay. This is the second thing, which means that there is an underlying issue which will come up very soon. So if you have, a lot of times it happens that you become, extra hungry. Uh,
Mm.
and that is one day, which is today. I have been hogging like a dog. Actually, I was telling you, right? I'm doing my research, and on one of my again emotional resilience program only, I noticed by 4:35 that I have munched in more than what I do. I have snacked between two meals like a crazy teenager. And then this is the realization which I got, that there is something wrong. So then I take a step back. I understand what is stressing me. I chunk it down into smaller things. Okay. That, and I tell myself, hey, listen, only this much is enough for today. Full stop, go take a break. Yeah. So that is second thing. So first is when you are overtasking. Second is when you are overeating or undereating. The third is the same thing with oversleeping or undersleeping.
Mm.
A lot of people think when I am tensed, when I am emotionally challenged, I will not get my sleep. This is a trend which people say, but there is a group of people, and I belong to one of them, that if I get tensed and stressed, I will sleep for 12 hours. Normally I sleep for 5 to 7 hours, and I am very energetic after that sleep. But the days which are stressful, where I'm emotionally stressed and strained, my sleep hours increase, because my body is telling, hey, take a break, shut down, you have to revive. Okay. there is another set of people who will have sleepless nights, who will not be able to have even 2 3 hours of sleep, and they'll say that whatever I'm doing, I'm not able to sleep. I'm lying down on the bed, I'm counting from 100 to 1, I am doing all my different ways, I'm listening to meditative music and all of that, but still it takes me 3 hours to go to sleep. And morning, I get up before the alarm, or my alarm rings, I get up and I'm extremely exhausted. Again,
True.
this means that there is an underlying emotional fatigue which is happening. So the three things which you have to check is if you had overscheduling, if you are under or overeating, and if you are under or oversleeping. This second and third will be one of the reasons where on a long run you will put on more weight. Yeah. So because you're overeating and oversleeping, or you're overeating and undersleeping, all this you will have a weight change. Could be you have reduced 10 kgs in like 1.5 2 months, or you have put on 10 kgs in 1.5 2 months without any medical issues, underlying medical issues. Then this is again a result of you having an emotional fatigue. You have to go meet someone who is an emotional intelligence expert, a psychologist, or an someone who can work around it. Talk to people. So that would be my take on how do you identify the few symptoms of emotional fatigue.
Gauri, thank you for that. Darshini, your take?
Okay, here I have had a number of circumstances or situations where like how Gauri ma'am was stating there are different groups of people who will have different ways of handling, or they'll have their own patterns. But I think before that, I think identifying the triggers is something which I learned on the process, because I'll give you very my own experience here. There till a point of time I used to be like, I start dumping all my emotions on one side. I continue to work. At the end of the day, then I once some in some situation or some circumstance, either I burst or it goes on a breakdown. Then I understand. But before anything, it's important to identify the trigger point, because I fall in that set of category where I don't eat, I don't sleep, both I don't. But
I think I am also falling into that kind of a category only. When things don't work, we finish that, and that goes for maybe a week or so. Then we are completely exhausted, and you are not in a position to compensate that sleep or the food that we have not had. That becomes a kind of a fatigue for us. I am also on that league. Coming to
off
that,
late
yeah, tell me.
Off late I came to this realization that, and what I started doing, I realized off lately, okay, it's not just about identifying your triggers. Another major factor what plays here is your diet, or which we call it the second brain. When I started changing my diet, my gut started to act differently. That brought in a lot of huge difference in your emotional balance, or understanding where is the issue. If issues are not getting sorted with, I still identifying your triggers, then yes, we'll have to go check the diet.
Hmm. Now, coming to that pointer, Darshini, the question that I have for you is, what are the three top rituals that help reinforce team's culture remotely?
Can you please repeat the question?
What are the three top rituals that help reinforce team culture remotely?
Okay. One, this is something I came across through a book, or rather, yeah, when I was reading a book. In any emotional state or in any emotions, that's something, only one thing will change. That's your breath.
Hmm.
This is something I do, which I'm sharing from my personal experiences. Let it be professional, let it be personal, in both ways I'm saying this. that doing breathing practice has helped me a lot of in past couple of months. And and then the kind of story what you tell yourself. Very simple. Another example I'll give you. When I went and did my first TEDx talk, there was a lot of last minute changes which happened, which eventually led for me to a mindset where will I do this talk successfully till I finished and got out of the stage.
Mm.
Then on that, when I was on the rehearsal process, then I told myself, okay, see the camera is not on recording, it's a live event, just go with the flow. Maybe, see, this has come from a lot of conscious practice, and my coach, my mentor is already sitting here along with me. A lot of things I've learned through her programs also. But the kind of the story or the self talk which we do, we need to start changing it consciously. Let it be personal, let it be in the professional front, in both aspects. I'm saying that has helped. And this is something I like. The last thing, I have set of playlists which I listen to before I hit the stage.
Okay.
It, of different genres, or rather a different mix of two albums. So yes, these are the three things what I do. One, your breathing practice. Second, the self talk. Third, the kind of playlist which you, it should not be a playlist what you usually listen. This is something where we create this ritual and we start anchoring this to every training front, career, and as well as your personal front.
Mm.
I'm a person who will say that I'm not scared of stage. At the same time, you'll find me getting nervous before entering the stage. But then, yes, that's something which I've changed it over the time.
Your take on it, Gauri? I think you're on mute, Gauri.
You're on mute. I think so.
Okay, sorry. Okay. There is something called anchoring that we do in NLP. Okay. So what Darshani is talking right now is all about anchoring, that you anchor a particular emotion to that particular, or rather anchor a particular state to that particular thing, that music, and that music can bring in that. And that is what rituals do to people. Okay. So as you asked that, what are the rituals that leadership team can have? Uh, See, it is very essential to have rituals because those rituals are the thing which people anchor, stuffs to. So, as I was telling, these two rituals, like going back to the older example, that Fun Friday or Chai Sutta thing, and meeting Monday. Oh, what are all these? These are rituals. Now, rituals is not always about, lighting a lamp and putting an agarbatti and doing some, because the moment you say rituals, people start thinking that, rituals is not just that. Rituals is practice where people need that to understand that, okay, my mind is now programmed. I am excited about Friday from Wednesday because I want my team to let them know. The second thing, what happens if I'm emotionally not sound that particular week, I know that Chai Sutta meeting is going to come on Friday evening where I can let my team know that, hey, there's something not going okay. Okay. As managers or as leaders, if I notice someone getting disengaged or not attending two or three of these kind of rituals, I should know they are escaping from the emotional deficiency that they are having. Yeah. So rituals are very, very important parts. You can have a fun ritual, you can have a traditional ritual, you can have about eating, or you can have about talking themselves out. The other thing, very recently I had a day's program with the DHL, where there was a beautiful thing which they are doing. They are trying to bring in the psychological safety there. So they are slowly building that up, and the person there was very clear that today we are just doing that awareness. Please come sit, be available, Anyone who has an issue will come and tap you in from morning to evening. Kind of a little stressful for me when people did not come for 3, 4 hours. I was like, oh, either they are psychologically very happy with this company because that's like a thumbs up, or they are a little scared to open up. Then later, one lady came, another person came. So it was good that later they started coming in. Luckily, I got 3, 4 calls later. I had to tap in the HR and say, "Hey, boss, that day they did not come, but there are like 4 people. I think they want to connect with me." And then they organized another, such day where now this is also a ritual. Every 15 days once there'll be this person who will be available. So come and went, you know, or monthly party or things like that. Simple rituals which you can bring in, which can bring emotional stability in this ever changing world and ever stressful world.
Important pointers there. Now, how do we look at see when we talk? Most of the pointers is we find team conflict there always, right? How do we handle a team conflict without the luxury of a face-to-face resolution? Good.
You're asking me, correct?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Wow, this this is very difficult because when you are communicating, I take this as in this is one statement which I tell in all my communication trainings is 93% of your communication does not go with words. It's
Mhm.
everything else other than words. And only 7% is words. What is
Right.
that everything else? It's the body language, the tonality, and all of that. Okay. Now, the moment the conflicts become virtual, I am missing on the 93%, which can help me express my emotion. I am only stuck with 7% and a little bit of physical. You can only see me in the small screen right now. You cannot see
Right.
how my legs are, how my hands are, and all of that. It becomes very difficult. Okay. It is not noisy. It is not that people will be shouting. It will be more of people getting quieter
Okay.
and they feeling that they are left out. That is something which can happen. When it is a conflict which we have to resolve in a boardroom, it becomes much easier because once you're done with discussing this conflict with that one individual, you will walk out of the boardroom. You will have a gang there to sit and tell you, hey, right, hey, wrong, okay, whatever it is. You know, you're missing all of that in a situation like this. As a leader, it becomes your responsibility to make sure that your team has that psychological safe environment where they can put across their point without being judged. That mutual respect, when I do not agree with you, when I agree with you, I'm all respectful, I'm all friendly, I'm all jolly. But the moment I disagree with you,
Disagree.
that capability of become being respectable even then when I am telling you something extremely contradictory to what you're telling is a very big skill. As a
Yeah.
manager, we should establish few conflict resolution norms. Like one of the things which is established in my team or which I help other leaders also to establish is if you feel that you are in a conflict of idea with the other person, you will walk over to them, or if you are at different time zones or different working places, you will send a request for a video call with that person who sort it out. And to do that, first you will agree that there is a conflict of interest. Agreeing is the first and the foremost step. If you do not agree, you will not try to resolve the conflict. And then there is a step of resolutions which you take, or whatever. There are different conflict resolution steps. This is not the point which we are discussing here right now. At the end, you register or you make sure that the conflict is done and there is no residue of this conflict on the next work which we are going to do together. So this is a framework which, as leaders, you should create for your team. that I am
I'll
open
take
for.
one pointer here, Gauri. I think
Yeah.
you brought a very important point because while I used to manage large distributed teams in the large organization, I had teams across the globe. So while we were talking, these conflicts were to be more to be looked at how it is to be addressed, right? So a conflict needs to be addressed in chunks. We cannot overnight have a conflict resolved, right? So what I used to ask the team is now what is the current thing? What is that we have? My boss had told me one thing is that you'll have three pointers for a conflict. One is either we don't have a skill from a project standpoint, right? Either you don't have a skill, that is resourcing, or you need to acquire a skill which costs, right? And the third is the effort that is needed, whether it is time or the duration that you can spend on it to get it. So these three things you have to look at. So what he used to say is, if I give you a person, how much of the problem is solved in percentage? Give me that. Now, if it is time, cost, or effort, you tell me what is that it is going to change if I give you people money. So I give you money as an approval. Say you need $10,000. I'll give you $10,000. What does it solve? Your financial thing. Do you have something which you have to buy with that cost? What is that? So if you have to buy, is it readily available? So he used to give us to say, now you need an approval I've got. So how much is it that problem is getting solved? 10%. So 90% is what is pending. So what you can do for the 90%, whether it is resource. Now if I have to hire a resource, how much time will it take? What is the duration? How is it going to impact the project? So he used to give us pointers in such a way that you chunk it out. Then address the problem. You cannot address it with a focus saying that I'll solve this here itself. One solution, and if it is an approval, I can solve it. One approval I'll give. Okay, I give you an approval. So that is done. Now I am going to do. If I have to buy, is it readily available? If I have to onboard a person, is he readily available for us to onboard? These things you will have to consider while resolving is a problem, is what he used to tell. That way of approaching good part, or how is your take on it, Gauri?
Yeah, totally right, actually, Uh, this actually brings into an understanding to that also, that small conflicts get addressed in the boardroom right then and there. If a
Hmm.
conflict needs to be addressed separately out of the meeting, this would not be the conflict of right now. There's a
Yeah.
residue of something which is happening, a domino effect. To break that domino effect, it is great to, chunk it down, address one at a time, and on a stretch of couple of meetings, sort the whole thing out. Yeah.
Yeah.
And another thing which I would like to add on to this is the conflict is of the interest, not with the person.
Hmm. Okay.
Conflict is subjective of some subject where we are having it,
Hmm.
not with the person altogether. Establishing this in the beginning of the conflict is very important. And as leaders, we'll have to moderate a lot of these kind of things. So, making sure that there are no personal, issues which are arising. It is just a conflict of interest, and we can sort it out.
Okay. Uh, my question goes to Darshini now. Darshini, you are any pointers on this pointer before I ask you the next question, Darshini?
Um, Now, I think it's all about separating problem and people separately rather than merging it together.
Okay.
Like say, for example, as rightly Gauri ma'am was stating that sometimes it comes with the past experience which has not been resolved, which is where they're bringing that same emotion to the current situation. But when we are all together in one room, it's easy to resolve or find out what is the hidden cause of the problem. I think, or when you're going and discussing all these things separately, again it becomes a havoc and it's very difficult to untangle the problem. So if everyone is at one place, it's easier to resolve and move forward as to what can be done next. Yes.
Now, another question to you, while we are talking about separating people, right, Darshani?
Hmm.
Now, what role does micro acknowledgement micro acknowledgement in a motivating distributed talent? So, what is that you can take? What role can we take as there as a leader, right?
It starts with, I think this thing which whenever I go for a training or let it be in an organization or in a college, when somebody from the, group or if any participant does something great, I always make it a point as a trainer or as a coach. I make it a point. I acknowledge them then and there. I think giving them that, compliment or that acknowledgement, they think, okay, I need to do more. That mindset will start coming in for them. Many a times when we don't appreciate what they have done in that particular time, and later we go say that compliment, it is over. But then and they're appreciating people or that individual in front of the class, the conference room or in the boardroom. It makes a difference. For them it's a big thing, but when we start acknowledging, at least they'll come back and open up if any issue arises after that. So that rapport building or the connection between inside the team as well as an individual, it makes it better. So as my perspective, this thing, it's always better to acknowledge it then and there when they do something, you know, when they've done some good work.
I think what you are saying is, I have faced this, Darshini. See, now and the current generation that they don't wait for somebody to come and say after 15 days. They want, if my work is going correct, tell me I'm wrong. If it is not going, tell me wrong. If it is going right, appreciate my work. And they want everything to be done on spot. They don't want later
Exactly.
gratification or later
Yes.
appreciation. Now, did I do good thing? You say yes or no. If you say no, then they'll ask you, give me a feedback. Why you feel this? Tell me now. That is the situation that we are in today's generation, right? So I think it is more to say you will have to get a task done, whether it is done good or bad. You say it is done good or it is done bad or it can be done better. Where I think this is where we are missing something of that feedback is what they are expecting immediately. Gauri, your take on it, Gauri.
I will actually piggyback on both your points here. Instant gratification is very important, okay? And we normally tell it as today's generation. Okay. We always say that today's generation wants this, today's generation wants that. Coming from what Darshini was telling, piggybacking on that, one of the ways in which my micro appreciations goes is all my trainings have something called chocolate. Okay.
Hmm.
Either it's a virtual training or whether it is a physical training. If it's a physical training, you will see me having at least 100 munch 5 stars with me in the beginning of the day, which will be kept on the table in display. The people get very curious when they are entering the training room. They're, what this chocolates and all this lady has brought me. Yeah. And even if it's a virtual session, I always mention that if you it would have been a physical session, you would have got chocolate. So whenever I feel there's something great, I will say chocolate. Okay, a small thing. And I say, whenever you meet me, you can claim those chocolates. Keep account of it. I have
Hmm.
got people who have met me 3 months later and asked, where are my three chocolates? And since then, I started keeping it in my bag. I'll always have 5, 10 chocolates that, hey, listen, take it, kind of thing. Now, why did I start doing that? People think it is just today's generation who needs instant gratification. Frankly speaking, I had a session with professors of medical college. These guys are medical government college, okay? So, frankly speaking, these guys are of the age of 45, 50. these guys became crazy learners when they had this
Chocolate.
micro acknowledgements and micro, rewards which I gave them. I did not think my chocolates will become so famous for these guys. And I have this habit of taking the chocolate and throwing it, and they will catch.
Yeah.
I saw these 50-year-old I would say chaps, not men also, because they were all leaping and, catching. And in India should actually pick them up for fielding. CSK should have a couple of these fielders, is what I started feeling. Even at the age of 45, 50, 55, micro acknowledgements are not going to go away. This is this is not just for today's generation. Yes, today's generation openly asks, tell me.
Yeah.
Older generation doesn't ask. The millennials choose not to ask, but they also love this
I,
instant micro appreciations which they get. So if you feel your team is not performing great, I would suggest you give them small, small things, tell them, hey, listen, I'll be sponsoring your date with your wife this weekend. If I see you have done it really great. Now that is going to cost you just 250, $300. But you will see all the whole team working like crazy that my weekend will be sponsored by my boss's money. And this
mm,
300, now these guys would be earning in lakhs, but
yeah.
this 300 is valued way higher than the salary which will be get credited on 30th of the month. Money,
True. True.
the amount doesn't matter there.
No, it is kind of a recognition, right, that you are getting. It's not the materialistic thing that you are getting there. Now, coming to the last pointer for today's discussion, how does EQ drive performance in tech dominated teams? To you, Gauri.
How does EQ drive performance in?
In tech dominated teams.
Okay. This is a research. I would go back to the
Mhm.
guru of EQ, Daniel Goleman. Yeah. Everything started when he started. Everything started when Salvoy had established their paper. So I am talking about not today, I'm talking about approximately 30, 40 years before is when these guys started identifying or understanding this, that we are not transactional human beings. Okay. Technology is a part of it, but we are more than technology. Yeah. Technology driven organizations actually need EQ driven leaders more than tech driven. Dude, you are 45, 50. You have like 30 years of experience in your kitty. I know you are technically sound. That is one of the reasons why you are a chief of the department you are, why you are the head of the department you are. But what more do you have as a leader? What more do you have? We have always seen, there are researches which prove, it has been seen, a person who has technical knowledge and emotional awareness, they grow up the ladder much faster than just a techie guy. Okay. Because humans are more than just the technology which they are sharing. More EQ evolved or a more emotionally aware team will have lesser escalations.
Mm.
They will not, when they are connecting with the clients, even if you're not connecting it directly. I'll give you a small example here, which happened with one of the teams when I was, when I trained these guys and they went back with the team. One of the chaps called me 6 months down the line. I had forgot this guy's name, that he told, what you told me that day actually worked today. I asked what? And he
Mm.
told, there is a client which had come, which wanted us to develop an educational institutions database where, for the hostel they wanted. So this thing is going to give the check-in, check-out of the students, non-veg, veg, which room, all the details in one dashboard kind of thing. This educational institution came to us, and I was given this task. And when I was designing it, one thing which I thought of is the person who is going to use it is this is going to be an extra task for him. Till yesterday,
Okay.
he was not doing this. Today, he's doing it. He will be frustrated when he looks at my app. He will not be happy. The institution will be happy. How can I make it comfortable for him? What are the things that he used to do on pen and paper, which I can break it down for him? And what task will be taking 30, 40, 50 minutes, he can do it in 2, 3, 4 minutes. I concentrated on that. And when I was going back for the, once we developed it, and when I was going back to train that person, I gave him that understanding before even introducing the app to him. So this guy actually empathized with the end user. And that empathy can only come if you are emotionally intelligent. So the more the tech focused organizations or industries will become, the more you will need emotionally sound people to run this technologically driven era. Yeah. So that is my take on this one thing.
So, Darshini, your take on it?
Recently I was getting this one-on-one clients. Yeah. They might be working they are working in some organization, and before coming when they come to me, they'll tell their problems, and they then finally at end of the conversation or somewhere in the middle they come and say, I did a research on this problem myself.
Hmm.
They come in so confused this thing, or they show all the frustration in me to what should I do? And I tell them first, this is something that before I go on with my conversation or my session with them, I tell them, I think the first thing we many of us have stopped doing is asking Google to what is the problem we are facing, going in deep diving into that problem, getting anxious about it. I think that's the first thing we need to stop doing on an individual level or on an organizational level.
Okay.
Very simple example I tell you. This client, she was facing anxiety. Then he went and read a whole lot of research for what all reasons anxiety is being caused. And they said, do I have this? Do I have that? All the questions will come. I said, okay. Then I asked them, did you go and search in Google? Then they're like, yes. How did you find out? Like the way you communicate or the way you tell things is so evident. So I think this is one thing you should stop doing. Going and searching in Google as to what are the side effects, what are the causes, all these things.
Okay. Great pointers there. I'll just summarize on what I've taken a notes on what we discussed in the short discussion that we had today. Now, we started with how emotional leaders detect signs of disagreement and stuff there, and we spoke about biggest blind spots that we had on distributed teams, some missteps that we spoke about, and we also led some of the pointers where how EQ helps people to manage things. Virtual teams fatigue is what we spoke about. Then we spoke about rituals where reinforcement of team culture is remotely done, and some pointers in terms of conflict face to face, which we spoke on how to solve that without having a uh, conflict when we speak and give a feedback. Then we spoke about role of micro acknowledgement, how important that is, and that's the point that we spoke about. And then we spoke about EQ drive performance on tech domain teams. These are the pointers that we discussed in our today's topic. And with this, we are on top of the hour, and we have covered about 10 to 15 questions to look at what we had in mind. So, thank you for being here, Gauri and Darshni. Great having you both together in this episode. It's been a great conversation. With this, to the audience, what we have done is we have streamed this podcast live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Hope you found this discussion valuable, and thank you for joining. And our next episode is going to be our 256th episode, which is our AI systems ready for the next security crisis, from code to compliance with cybersecurity strategy, on the 3rd of June at 6:30 p.m. IST. Looking forward to see you all on 3rd of June. And thank you for being here and good day. Gauri and Darshni, thank you for being here. With this, I would like to conclude the session. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Prem, for having us again. And it's always a pleasure to be here.
Thank you.